Hello fishing friends, this is Matthew with Out Fishing 13 bringing you another reel service and repair video. Today I'm working on the Zebco 2023 Omega Pro. This is the ZO3 30 size reel. Let's get started. Okay, to get started you're going to need some special tools, well at least a special screwdriver for this reel. First thing that you'll need is a size 1 PZ screwdriver. You'll also need a 3mm hex drive or Allen wrench. You'll also need a small, thin, slotted flat screwdriver. You'll need some good reel oil. I'm using this Lucas fishing reel oil. And you'll also need some precision reel grease. I'm using this pin grease that I've been really happy with the last couple of years. Pretty basic. So let's get started. The first thing I want to do with any of my reels I start working on is I want to remove the front cap. So this one screws off with a screw. You take that off just like so. Next thing you want to do is you want to remove the front spinner cone assembly. Hold on to the handle and turn it to the left counterclockwise. Okay, this spinner cone is a little bit different and there's some improvements to it over the old spinner cones. It has dual pickup pins, but it has a mechanism that's more closely related to an Abu Garcia Abumatic. When you push, this pushes in and the pickup pins come off. When it cocks, it actually doesn't rest on the center piece anymore. It rests on these little cams that pop out, and it has a very positive pickup pins. This, I'm not sure if this is what makes it braid ready, but it is an improvement in my opinion because these cams are never going to wear out. Now, I've been using this reel all last summer and this fall, and I've been trying to just use it as much as possible. And so this is really the first time I've had it apart. I want to show you this. This comes with an oscillating spool, and it oscillates maybe 1/8 of an inch. And that's enough to help keep the line on the spool more even. Okay. The next thing we want to do is we want to take off the spool. Take off the spool, you want to tighten the drag all the way. And there's little instructions here. It says to install, it goes this way. The line goes this way. To remove, has a little arrow that goes that way. So you take and just grab hold of the spool, give it a little turn, and it comes right off. Okay. The next step is, this is where you're going to need your PZ1 driver, and you don't want to remove these 4 screws right here. Those are what hold the drag assembly together, and I want to show you the drag assembly because it's different than the old Omega Pros, and it is an improvement, although it's made out of like a Darylin plastic. It's actually much better. So we got these 2 holes right here. We want to reach down in there and firmly get your driver on there and firmly push down and turn. Let's get out. You're trying to screws, don't lose these. Get that away. Okay, now it's done, take the back off. Let's take it off. I'll do it one side. There we go. A bit more on this side. Okay, catch this. Be careful about dropping this. It has a little plastic piece that clicks in there, and that's the clicker indicator for when you turn the drag one way or another. So it will pop out. Just don't lose it. Okay, then we got our button assembly here, and it's totally enclosed with a really nice rubber soft thing there. If it ever breaks, you can call up Zebco customer service and get that replaced. Has a little clicker that's built into the handle area right here, and There's no need to take that apart. This is all nice and clean. It doesn't even need to be washed. Okay, then looking at the back here, let's get the screws out. Let's just shake those out. See these two specialty screws? They might look like a Phillips to you, but they're not. They're a PZ1 drive. But they got a long head here to make it easy to get to. All right. So looking at this, just to show you what we got back here, we got a solid brass main gear that's helically cut, and then a helically cut main gear right here. Very solid, very sturdy. It's going to last you for years as long as you take good care of it. This is advertised as a 7-ball bearing or a 7-bearing reel. Let me show you where the bearings are. There's one here and one here on the main shaft or the handle shaft. Then there's one here and one here. That's 4. And then in the middle, there's a bearing that's actually the anti-reverse clutch. That makes 5. And then there's a bearing here and a bearing here in the handle, making a 7-bearing reel. Okay, the next thing we want to do to continue with our disassembly is to get this out and lubricate and service this oscillator, we need to take the handle off and undo this right here. I suppose we don't have to take the handle out at this point, but it's just going to make it easier. So we want to take off this cover cap here. This is where you're going to need a 3mm. So I'm going to change my little drive here and put in my 3mm hex wrench and take that off. In my opinion, I think that Zebco could have just left this a regular straight. There was no need to go to a hex and make it more complicated. So once I have that apart, I can take the handle off. Okay. Screw this. So I'm going to unscrew this first. Okay, once that's off, that can come off. And then this assembly, which, okay, to continue with our disassembly, let's take off this bearing here and get it out. Be careful when you push on this. You don't want to push on the shields and bend it and dent the shield off. There's a there's a washer right here. It's a little shim washer. You can push against that and get it out at the same time. Just remember that it goes in front of the bearing, and what it does is that little shim helps close the gear lash. Then you can take out the handle shaft and this little oscillator piece. Look at how it goes. It goes just like that. When you do put it back together, this little piece right here fits in a little slot right there. Okay. This handle shaft is really well built. It's got a brass helically cut gear and a stainless steel shaft that has that gear pressed on there. It's super tough. So again, getting my little PZ1 here. Take out this little tiny screw here. Take out this little tiny screw here. So let's drop those down. And then you just lift this out. Now, this right here is the anti-reverse drag. The nice thing about it is it really only goes on one way, and when you look at it, it has a big shim washer here, and then this plastic part goes this way towards the bearing. What I want to do with mine to service it, I'll do it right now while I'm thinking about it, is have a nice little brush and get in there and brush some grease down in here. That will help retain the bearings and keep them in there, and also keep them lubricated. Okay, there's a couple little things down here. We need to get this out. This is a little spacer. This little spacer can only go in one way. It has a little lip underneath there. That little lip goes up against it like that. If you put it on wrong, it's going to stop right there. But this is just a little spacer that pushes up against the other bearing and makes this operate very smoothly. Okay, I've got all my parts cleaned up. I want to show you how to disassemble and reassemble this drag system and service it when needed. Now, one of the nice things about this is it's totally enclosed here. There's going to be very little chance of moisture getting in here and interfering with this, but this is a very, very nice drag system. So to disassemble it, we just need to undo these 4 PZ1 screws. Okay, then you need, there's a little slot right there, and a little slot right there that you can use. Take a small slotted screwdriver and just get in there and give it a little twist. Let's see this right here. And kind of work your way around. There's some pins to hold it together to get it to come apart. So be gentle with it and then take it apart. Okay. All right. Now this little thing right here, this little clicker is going to want to fall off. Just remember which way it goes. It goes just like that. It's got a little hole right there and a bigger hole there. The little hole goes into that little pin and the big hole goes on that pin. Okay. Now there's a drag washer right here if you want to take it out and lubricate it. I'm just going to leave it right there, and we'll take everything apart here and kind of lay it all out. So first thing we need to take off is this spool mount right there. You'll notice it has grooves in here, little teeth. Those fit over a special washer. So we'll take that off. Now there's going to be another drag washer that's probably going to be fixed to this right here. Okay, so that's the first drag washer. So I'm going to lay this out kind of the order it's going to go back together. Then it has a slotted, has 3 slots in it, stainless steel drag washer. Then it has another fiber drag washer. Then it has this slotted stainless drag washer that has the teeth on the outside, and that's what this one goes against. And then it has another drag washer. Then it has another slotted stainless drag washer. And then it has this drag, it's kind of a cupped drag spring, and it doesn't have any teeth on it at all. Okay, and it's cupped down so that the cup goes this way and the cup goes up. Okay, then it has the drag adjustment gear and then this main gear right here. Okay, so all together has 1, 2, 3, 4 fiber washers and 1, 2, 3 stainless steel washers, and then this spring right here. Alrighty, so very robust system. All we need to do with this one is put a very little bit of grease on there, but when you need to, just grease each surface if you clean all of it off and put it back together. You want to use a lighter weight grease and perhaps the gear lube. And so if you put the gear lube on there, a little drop of oil would help here. I don't need to do anything with this. I'm really satisfied with what's going on here with the service on it. And I've used this quite a bit this spring and summer and fall. And I'm really happy with the way that it's going. So if I was to service this, if I use this reel like 3 or 4 times a week all summer long for several months, I might take this apart and service it, or I might not. But that's the way it goes. So let me show you how it goes back together. This right here has ramps on this side. You can see those ramps. See those ramps? Those ramps go against here. And what you want to do is you want to get it positioned. Actually, you want this to go in first. Goes right there. And then you want this to go just so it's positioned just like this. So it's at the very end, and that's the loosest, and that's the way you want to do it to get it all put back together. So this goes on with the, if you can see that, with the cup up like this. Actually, the cup down. This first one goes on, and it just has to go on one of the slots, and then a drag washer, and you would grease this, then grease this side, then put this washer on that's got the slots on the outside, put another drag washer on, put another slotted drag washer, another fiber drag washer, and that's where you're at there. Then you go and you head and you put this on, and make sure it fits snugly over that right there, the one with the slots on the outside. Make sure you've got your drag washer here. Make sure it's all lubed. Then put this back together so that, oh, you gotta make sure that this goes on. This little clicker goes right here. Make sure it's firmly in place on both the little pins. And then there's a slot right there for that. Little square slot, and it goes on there just like this. Make sure the pins get signed up and push it together. And take and put your screws in there. Take your little PZ1, and what I like to do is I like to go backwards until I feel it kind of click in place just like that, and then screw it down, because these are plastic and it probably doesn't matter, but you want to kind of save those. There, it clicked, and screw it down. Let's go backwards. There it goes, clicks down. Again, go backwards a little bit, and then screw it down. These don't need to be really, they just need to be snug. They don't need to be torqued down or anything like that. Just snug, so you don't strip out that plastic threads. Okay, and that's how you put together. Okay, now that I have this back together, I'm ready to start putting everything back together and put it back in reverse order. The first thing I want to do is take some oil and allow it to soak into these sealed bearings. So there's those two bearings, this nose bearing, and this bearing here, Let that soak in. I don't need to do anything with the AR bearing. So we want to get this main shaft put in, and there's this little part here that goes in first, and then this little spacer, then this bearing, and this. So we'll put by putting, we want to put in this first, and then we'll put this on right here. Then we'll put this spacer on. Then we'll put this little piece on right here. Then we'll put it down here, and we'll hold this sideways like this. And you gotta get that AR bearing in there. There we go. So we have it all in there. Then we have these two little screws. Then using our PZ1 screwdriver, like that down. All right, we got that. So what we're going to do is we're going to put just a little bit of grease around here. Very little, doesn't require very much. Then we'll put this on. And slip it in like that. Okay. Then we'll get the bearings on. So we'll put this side on first. I don't think it really matters. And then we want to use a little screwdriver and push on the very outside of the bearing, so you're not, or on the inside, so you're not pushing on the shield and denting it or anything like that. Use the handle a little bit to get it going. There we go. And then it's got a little shoulder there, so once you get it up to that shoulder, then it's seated all the way. And then this one, you need this shim, so you can put this little shim washer on first, and then your bearing. Again, you can use the handle to get it started and most of the way on. And then push it on the outside. Just push it enough to get it seated up on there. You want to put this in and get it hooked up to the oscillator. So let's get that put in there. Get this little thing right here lined up. This is the oscillating mechanism. It just needs to sit down in there like so, and then it stays in place when you put the cap on there. So we just got to get this screw in here, and the screw has a little shoulder on there, and then after I get it installed, I'll put a little bit of oil on it. So get it started. It has a shoulder on it, so you want to snug it up pretty tightly. Just like that, and then I'm going to put a little drop of oil just right in that joint. One is all it needs. There we go. Okay. Now, before I put the back on, I'm going to go ahead and put the handle on now. And I like to reel with my left hand, so I'm going to put this on the left side. And then put this on. Okay. And what we want to do is just take a little bit of grease and apply it to this shaft here, and you can apply it to here. Remember, what slings off and gets squished out will never get back on there, so I'm ready to go ahead and put the back on and use the two screws. Now, we want to make sure we put this on. This goes, that little clicker part goes to the outside, so click, make sure that's in there. Let me get your cap put on, your back cap. Okay, now you're ready to put these screws in there. You really just need to drop them down in there and tighten those down. Okay, that's all put together. A little drop of oil down in here. I want to put a little drop of oil here. Now, I don't know what the instructions say about oiling this, but I'm going to oil a few little spots on here. A little bit there, a little bit there, and a little bit on this spring right here. See where there's these little pins go down? A little tiny bit of oil there. And make sure you tighten this up all the way. And then you can put this on. And remember, it has instructions, so to install, it says to turn it just like that. Alright? And then you can loosen it up. And that's good. Put the spinner cone assembly on. Test it out. Now when you're testing this out, you don't want to push it out very far. Just like that. If you push out too far, you're going to have to push it back in, because it's not made to go out that far. Just like that. Okay. So it cocks, just like that. Alright. And thread the line through the cover, front cover. Push this a little bit. I feel like you should never really oil these threads, because they'll just collect grit and sand and dirt and make it harder. But that's it. Don't forget to put this on. And there's one last thing that I feel like you should do on these occasionally, but it's not really needed. These have a little vent hole right there, but I feel like you should take and carefully remove this, pop that cap off, and then put a drop of oil down in here on that bearing that's in the handle. And then make sure that these get put all the way back in, or else you'll lose them. They'll come out on you sometime. So make sure they're in there good. Even if your handle doesn't have bearings, you should always oil your handles just a little bit, but just a little drop of oil is all it takes. But I don't think you need to do that very often. Maybe if you drop it in water. But a great reel. Now this you can put 30-pound braid on this, and if you contact Zebco, you can order an extra spool, so you can have a spool with braid on it and a spool with monofilament. And I probably will never put braid on this, because I'm really fishing for bass in the weeds and stuff like that. And I don't know, I'm going to try it out. I'm going to try it out this year and see if it's any better and gets me some good 30-pound braid. And just give it a shot. You can put 120 pounds of 30-pound braid on here, 120 yards of 30-pound braid, and 100 yards of 10-pound test. I've got some 8-pound Suffolks I'm going to put on here and fish with it this next spring, and that's what I'm going to use. But this is probably my favorite Zebco reel to date, primarily because they've made some vast improvements. One of the best improvements they made was the spinner cone assembly and the way that it operates. It doesn't ride around on cams. It's completely separate from that, and it holds itself in place. So, but I just like the design. I'm glad that they got rid of the slots on here. I did notice on my old Omega that when you cast it real hard, you could actually feel the line coming out of the slots, which I figured slowed it down and so prevented it from casting as far. But overall, I just love the design. It's kind of got a modern feel to it, but a little bit of a retro design as well. So anyways, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed yet, and comment below. Let me know if you have any questions about this. But you can currently find these at many of your sporting goods stores and online. This is the 2023 Zebco Omega Pro. Thanks and have a great day. Bye.